All right, high rollers, big fan of our guest today, not only for her outstanding poker abilities, but for the way she handles herself at the table as well. Won the hearts of many following that infamous William Kassouf 9 high like a boss hand at the 2016 WSOP, where she finished 169th in the main event. She got her revenge on the speech play king in Rozvadov, and this year she went very deep in the WSOP Colossus. She can play, folks, at Stacy AC on both Twitter and Instagram. Definitely one of the empowered women of poker. Stacy Matuson, welcome to the show. Thanks for being our high roller today.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you having me.
Also with us today is Christopher Womack, my good buddy, poker player, podcaster, and successful business owner in Colorado. I understand he's expanding too. Chris, welcome back.
What's up, High Roller Nation? I love y'all. I missed y'all. It's been a good summer. Everybody should be over that World Series hangover. It's time to get to business. I hope everybody's working hard, but it's great to be back on High Roller Radio.
It's great to have you, man. Stacy, got to start with you. I know you get asked about William Kassouf all the time, about that 9 high hand, and then the grudge match in the Czech Republic. Wondering if I can ask a different slant about William Kassouf. Imitators. I'm sure you faced a few since that infamous hand last year. Guys trying to bully you in a hand, trying to bluff you, maybe even doing so with 9 high. I'm wondering what it's been like for you with these imitators of William Kassouf, and how do you handle these guys at the poker table?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I haven't had anybody quite like him testing me or, talking my ear off. I think they realize that that's kind of passé. But I have had, in the last few tournaments that I've played, I have had people seriously put me to the test. And more times than not, I made the call and I won some really huge pots off of it. So it's really just been advantageous to me.
I'll tell you what, it was a very exciting hand, and you were dead center in the middle of it. There's so much talk about the lack of women in poker. At the WSOP, I think it's 4% of the tournament fields, that perhaps this game is too intimidating for most. But I got to say, the way you handled yourself at the table, I think your Twitter quote was something to the effect of, "Nobody has ever made me cry at the poker table," essentially saying it wasn't a huge deal. You beat him in the grudge match. Yeah. Even he says there's no animosity between the two. You don't seem like you're intimidated at all, and I just love that about you.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I'm not. I mean, I think that has to do with, just kind of the type of person I am. I'm a little bit fearless, and I don't think that, people should intimidate you at anything. I think that if you have a strong belief in your talents and, yourself, then you shouldn't be scared about doing anything. And I happen to like playing with men, sports, like pool and gin and poker, because it's not physical prowess that's going to win. It's usually the person that's has kind of the most clever mind or, makes the smartest play. And I'm always up for the challenge.
Well, I got to add to this. I love gin. I love competition. And you know what, Stacey? I really loved meeting you last summer. You were really nice conversation outside the Rio when necessarily you're not going to be around the nicest people. But you are a really genuine, nice person. I'm really glad we got this interview.
Thank you.
To add to that competition, you are very empowered. I don't necessarily think it's women necessarily, but it could go just to the amateur player. I think a lot of amateur players are intimidated about this game, but you do have this stand-up attitude where, you know what, it is just cards.
Right. It is. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I've been playing probably for over 20 years, and I've learned a lot about myself. And you learn a lot about human nature by playing poker as well. So, when you can really make very good reads and tells on poker tables, it'll also help you in life as far as business and personal relationships as well. So, I find it kind of a challenge to study human nature. And so, I get excited to play. I never get intimidated.
I totally agree. I really relate a lot of my business to poker, and poker makes business better. Business makes poker better. I relate totally to that. And you usually see the more successful people doing a lot of other successful things besides poker, and that's how we kind of weed folks out. But you are a true gem. You've cashed all over the world. You cashed in Costa Rica. You cashed in Europe.
Yep.
I believe it was Spain. You cashed throughout the United States. Where are some of your favorite places to play cards?
It's so funny, too, because, this is the first year ever that I ventured out into Europe. I've been wanting to go for so long, and I kind of felt like I was just traveling everywhere this year, much thanks to 8-a-Day Poker that, invited me out and sponsored me for these events and enabled these trips to happen. Costa Rica was actually my first no-limit tournament that I ever played. I think it was in the year 2000. I was going with a group of my poker playing friends, and I was just going for the trip, and I read the book, The Zen of Poker, on the plane there, and decided to take a shot at my first No Limit tournament in 2000, and I finished second.
Wow.
And I remembered that when I got heads up, because I was so inexperienced at the time at No Limit that I was kind of breathing heavy, and I remember my opponent that won the tournament said, "Stacy, just relax your breathing," and this and that. I mean, he actually said it to me heads up, because I was playing a really good game, but I had no experience whatsoever on just kind of keeping calm and everything, which I've actually done quite a 180 since then. I really enjoyed Barcelona. To me, playing in King's Casino in Rosendorf was amazing. It was a blast because I got to venture out to Prague.
I met the owner of that casino this summer at the
Leon. What a lot of fun he is.
Gentleman. Always a bright figure and a bright smile on his face.
Quite charming and entertaining. I don't think that I have a specific. I always say that Vegas is really the WSOP is really probably my favorite place to play because it's so life changing and there's so many different events you can play. If you travel to Europe and you're playing the main event and you don't win it, well then it's over and done with. But in the WSOP, there's 60 events that can change your life.
I've always said that the World Series is like summer camp for poker players. It is.
100%.
It is a fun summer. You get to see people that you've randomly seen over the whole year. Maybe you
right.
haven't seen, but
yes.
It's such a great vibe. And I think we were when we talked to each other outside the Rio, we were wrapped up in that vibe. It was good to see everybody and kind of get the series started.
You make an interesting point there, Stacy, about how it's so life-changing, how one tournament. I'm wondering, and I don't want to belabor the William Kassouf hand, but that one hand got a lot of headlines, a lot of publicity. How did that change you in terms of your poker career? I mean, you've got 8 on board now, a lot of exposure. It's been a good thing even though you lost the hand, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been in the business a long time. I grew up in the ranks with Grinder and Robert Mizrachi. Obviously, they play a heck of a lot more than I do. But we've traveled together and we grew up together. But I was always people in the business or people that have been playing a long time knew of me, but I was never in the limelight, nor did I ever seek fame of any kind. So when this whole thing happened with Will Kassouf, all of a sudden I had everybody, I felt kind of exposed because, it was mostly positive, but there was a lot of, kind of negative attention, like his fans were like, like blaming me for his penalty, which it wasn't my fault. But I felt sort of exposed, and yet, there's good and bad when you are on ESPN, and, if you are a private person like myself. But it was interesting because I've met so many wonderful people that have come up to me and said, I watch you on television, I'm a big fan, and that, that's very humbling. So, for me, I was trying to change my life as far as financially and making a personal goal by making the final table of the World Series of Poker. So that was really important to me. As far as all the exposure that we got on ESPN, it's been quite flattering. And yes, it has gotten me free trips to Europe. So, I can't complain.
That's the best. That is the best. Free trips are the best. It's one of those situations where you're like, I wasn't looking for this. I'm enjoying.
Right.
I'm part of the community. Yeah, I'm with the grinders, but all of a sudden you're like, come on, dude. They're like, come on, we got cameras on us. I bet the moment the cameras go on, you're like, here we go.
Well, that's funny too because I've done so much media in the past to do with, we used to run the WSOP Dealer Academy. We had a poker dealer school, or I was around a lot of the media all the time, so I was always kind of doing things or little clippets on television and stuff like that. So I feel really comfortable with podcasts, radio, television. So I really, when the camera crews came to film us, I've just blanked them out. It doesn't make me nervous. I don't act a different way. It was a little overwhelming because, when those hands were happening with William, there was 10 of them around us. But, I wasn't really so much paying attention to that, just more so the circus that was happening on the table.
It's easy to phase everything out. I'm a player of the game, and I could care less about the cameras. I could care less.
Yeah.
And it comes easy talking about poker, like with radio, with television, with a lot of things, because you know what? You can truly tell we love the game. And,
right.
When it comes down to the game and in the poker community, it's all one big circus. It really is, and it kind of gets wrapped up into one with the with mainstream media. And yeah, you definitely have fans all over the world, whether they love you or hate you. But I think
right.
it's good either way.
I've gotten messages from Germany, from all over different countries too. It's so great. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe it. But here's the thing: anything that we can do to keep poker, not from going down and continuing on the rise, that we can bring mainstream into poker to keep it thriving.
Yes.
Is great for everybody.
Yeah, when you're sitting across from him in Rosvadov and you're playing heads up and he's wearing those glasses with flashing coconut signs, are you thinking? By the way, I'm so happy you smashed him in that grudge match. But are you thinking this is pretty surreal?
I like William, but I'm so happy.
Like this is pretty crazy.
If you beat him, don't come home. You know.
But it must have been a surreal moment for you.
You know, it was funny. It was funny because before we sat down and actually do the grudge match, we were doing kind of photo ops and all this sort of nature, and we were kind of doing like boxing gloves next to each other, and his little lip was shivering and stuff. Because I mean, I think outside of the limelight, he's or off a poker table, he's actually quite
shy.
In a sense, yeah.
But again, a lot of people take that moment at the poker table to really shine their limelight, and all of a sudden their personality does shine. But I think William, that he shines at the poker table, and he might not. I love William. I love him.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The thing is that he was coming from Great Britain or London, and to me, it was just him unaware of maybe some of the differences and playing tournaments as far as the rules and restrictions. Usually when you're in a cash game, you can talk to somebody heads up like incessantly,
Yep.
And the WSOP main event, when the action's not on you, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to talk about the contents of the pot, yada, yada, yada. So, him and I have spoken a few times since then. That's his spiel. That's the way he, creates attention for himself and probably deals because he's creating a personality. That's just not my thing. I'd rather be kind of like a quiet ninja. I'd rather trap you. Everybody's got a different style of play, and that just happens to be his. So.
I like to be an animal of many spots, so I like to take a little bit from every game. But yeah, I feel like in tournaments, like cash games, talking may help, but like tournaments, man, it can bite you in the ass. So I feel like he's been coin flip away from either winning or losing, and that's not how I run my tournaments either.
Yeah, I mean, I do speak when I'm in tournaments. Sometimes, to get information from the players, so when he's sitting across from me,
I do.
Well, I mean, there's needles there too. I don't mind doing some of that either. I can do the best of it with the guys too. They can't. Yeah. Here's the thing: somebody can aggravate you at the poker table, but it should never affect the way you play. And I'm able to separate the two. Obviously, I wasn't able to show that on that particular hand, but there was a lot more to the story, which I've gone over, numerous times. But
yes.
The thing is that when you are playing, you're trying to get information because you can't see a person's cards. So sometimes the bets are not enough information, and so you want to, speak to your opponent. And I did that actually in the last tournament I was in a lot, and it gave me a lot of information. But there's just kind of a limit, and you should always have respect for your opponent. To me, I think that should never go away in poker, regardless of how bad you want to win.
I got slow rolled the other day. I was fuming. I was just like, wow, you endorse this kind of play. You allow this kind of drunken play.
Yeah, it's just tacky. But, people are going to do that because they're going to get under your skin. They're going to hope that you blow a bunch of chips the next hand because you were so irritated by that. You just got to always kind of keep your composure, a little bit of zen about you. I mean, the last tournament I played at Hard Rock this weekend, I was so aggravated all day. I played 14 hours, but every table, there were people on the table that were just doing things that were so outrageous to me, and I was talking all kinds of smack, and I was thinking, oh my God, Stacy, just chill out, But, I mean, poker's a wonderful thing, so when him and I were playing heads up, and he had the sunglasses and stuff, I know that that's his shtick, and I, could see right through it, and all of his, the times that he did talk, I was able to pick up all of his reads and stuff. So it was, pretty much a pretty easy heads up. I know he does, he says he doesn't have a lot of experience, but he's much better in a full ring game than he is as a heads up player. Not to take anything away from his game.
No, of course.
I have nothing against him. I saw him in Barcelona because we played a main event together there. I think we, had a drink together. People just like to create a lot of drama,
Correct. There's nothing else to talk about sometimes. There's nothing else to talk about.
That was just a whole, Stacy versus Will, and then Will versus, all the other players that were playing the main event. But it was really, I think ESPN was trying to show a trend.
Yeah, the speech play was reversed. I mean, nobody
that was good stuff. Yeah, that was great. Well, I mean, listen, it's a cooler. It's not like he's going to fold anyways. I don't think he has...
It wasn't like he was going to fold. It was a cooler, but, the speech play definitely got reversed. You're a bully. You're a bully. You're a bully. It's like...
Well, I think at the time, Griffin had gotten wrong information because what had happened was, a player that was on my table there that, finished second, he had said, I think he was just so irritated by playing with Will for, the days after the situation that happened with me, that he was just like so frustrated. He's like, oh God, like he almost made a woman cry. Okay, first of all, I've never cried on a poker table in my life.
Yeah.
Because I would get these comments, oh, you cried. I was like, never did I cry. So, but this is what, don't forget, the people that are playing the main event and they're on day 6 and day 7, they're sheltered from what's going on in the outside world.
Correct.
They're only around the players that are playing the tournament. So they hear this little bit, Griffin and I had met each other, and we had a kind of a nice banter between the two of us when we were playing. So I think maybe he had gotten an exaggerated version of, how Willie affected him. So
wow.
So I think that what happened, I think he even said something like that about a YouTube, But I think he was reacting like, that Will had gone too far, which he had, but I could handle myself.
Well,
and
I think Griffin went too far in the end but it was almost slid under the table because his was like aggressive, and I was like, whoa, when you really look at it. But
you know what people don't understand, and they're so quick to judge, is that when you're playing for 7 days in the main event,
oh my God,
you're delirious, you're tired, you're cranky, you've made 100 important decisions per day affecting your life. It's like war, and so you're maybe not at your best, or you're strong, or you're calm,
your sugar levels are off, your vitamins are off,
just everything. I mean, your mind starts playing tricks on you on day 5. It's like crazy.
At that point, you'd been at the Rio for like 30 days. Most people have been there for 30 days, and they're just like, well, people are trying to sell you spinners going down the hallway, and you're like, I guess I'll buy a spinner now.
Right. But what I'm saying is specifically in the main event, because this was I have gone through day 3 a few times, but when you start going 5, 6, and 7, it's an experience that you can't explain unless you go through it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is his type, Griffin's behavior at all. And I think that, he's on day 7. He's dealing with somebody that people have been irritated with for 7 days. And I think I got the best of him. I'm not excusing his behavior, of course, but, listen, I mean, everybody, Will and Griffin, whatever, had done things that they wished that they hadn't.
Yeah. I think everybody at the table. If you haven't,
me too. I had said something about, why is his hand still alive? And I don't even remember saying that. I mean, you say things that are just, you're just like caught up in the moment. You know?
Yeah, definitely some big moments with life-changing money. There was some mob mentality. Things got out of hand. You mentioned it there. Gordon Vail seemed to instigate the whole thing by telling his rail a lie, and that's what William Kassouf said in our interview. We have had Griffin Benger on before, and he seems like an all-around nice guy.
He's wonderful.
Yeah,
and so is Gordon. Let me tell you something. Gordon is the nicest guy. So, here you are saying a lie. Like, I want to soften everything that went on because, like I said, you're immersed in the experience, and so maybe things are coming out of your mouth that you don't necessarily mean or are taken wrong. So, I mean, Gordon is a fantastic player and such a gentleman. So I don't think that he was trying, because I had written him on Twitter right away, like, oh my God, I can't believe you said I cried. And he's like, oh my God, Stacy, I'm so sorry that happened and this and that, because it was never intentional. But
things spread like wildfire in the poker.
I know. They do.
You can say one thing, and all of a sudden, something comes out the other tail end that was totally different.
Well, yeah, you gotta be extremely careful. But like I said, when you're playing poker and you're playing for $8 million and you're getting further than you ever have in your life, and you're close to a dream, your behavior is just altered somewhat. That's all I can say. Well, I had said something after the end of my interview when I had gotten knocked out about. I was 80 to 90% calling. These were thoughts of my own head, but I was saying it in an interview, and I had gotten some slack for that, like, oh yeah, 80 to 90%, oh yeah, because now you know what he had. But people, first of all, after you get knocked out, you're in another planet too. You don't even know where you are, so things that are coming out of your mouth are not necessarily what you would want to say in an interview. But people are quick to judge, and until you're, you kind of ride that wave, and you're like, okay, now I get it, now I understand. But there's nothing you can do to help people understand why some of the things were said during that series. And you just kind of learn from it, move on, and go on to your next tournament. That's it.
We're running out of time here, Stacy. A couple more questions.
Sure.
You came close last year to fulfilling your dream, making the final table. This year, no woman at the final table. What did you make of the final table this year? And then after that, I want to ask you about your Twitter profile and if you could comment on the ninja status.
Sure. Well, I thought, I watched the final table. I thought it was pretty... I thought it was kind of cool that there was a lot of, amateurs, or people that, weren't well known. I mean, some people had like very little caches. It just goes to show you that anybody can have that kind of wave where everything's kind of going their way, because a lot of things have to go your way to make the final table. You got to win your coin flips, you got to suck out, your hands have to hold up, all kinds of things. And I was happy to see, some young kids just actually like winning so much money. I thought the French player, to me, was the best player on the table. I did think the guy that won it played very well. I also do think he ran very well. I think second place finisher had a little trouble finding his pace on heads up. It was, kind of like a raise he called.
He could have been aggressive.
It wasn't really this. I'm sure he learned a lot from that experience, and I'm sure in his next heads up match, he'll play a completely different game. It's all a learning process. But I was happy for them.
Well, listen, this has been a real pleasure. Lastly, your Twitter profile, it says Ninja. A real entrepreneur is somebody who has no safety net underneath. Never fear competition. They only make you look better. Poker Pro Life Enthusiast. And then you've got hdfmagazine.com. Tell us about that profile.
Okay, well, ever since I started playing poker, my close friends, Mike, Rob, Chino, they always called me the poker
ninja. Grinders.
Yeah, they always call me the poker ninjas. This is my style of play, kind of waiting and hiding and then just trapping you and grabbing your chips. So that's just kind of been a moniker that's followed me forever. And I like that because that's how I see, my style of play. And HDF Magazine is a entrepreneurial magazine. They did a whole article about my life story, because I opened up the WSOP Dealer Academy, how I became a poker player. My story was kind of unusual and inspiring to them. But, I am a life enthusiast. I think that every day that you wake up, you should be grateful to be alive and make the most of it.
Well, let me ask you one more question on the Dealer Academy and what you see at the WSOP every year and how players react to dealers.
Well, that's what our attempt was. Unfortunately, we did kind of close that down. We were working on online programs so that we could train people all over the world. That's on hiatus right now. But I do see that there's a lot of dealers that go out there because they are short, on how many dealers they need. And so they grab dealers from people that can actually leave their jobs who are not necessarily trained in all of the 19 games there are at the WSOP. And I think sometimes players are a little short-tempered about it. I mean, if you're putting $1,000 or $5,000 in a tournament, you want the dealer to be able to deal. And that's just simple as that. So, the quality needs to be worked on so that it's, an easier experience for the players out there. But you should always be kind and courteous to your dealer because they're just doing their job and they're doing the best they can.
Stacy Matuson, this has been a real pleasure. Big fan. We'd love to have you on again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, it was my pleasure, guys.
Christopher Womack, Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate having me on. I'm glad we got this interview. Stacy, I know you have a lot of big fans around the world. You're a great person. You're a great poker player. I'm glad that we met each other at the World Series and look forward to seeing the future. As far as me going, High Roller Nation, check me out in Gary, Indiana this weekend. I'll be commentating Final Table at the main event there at the Majestic Casino in Gary, Indiana. Check me out on Twitter at Womack303. Also check out America's Poker Tour TV on Twitch and America's Poker TV on Twitter. So, yeah, I love you, High Roller Nation.
All right, thanks, buddy. And again, it's Stacy Matuson, our guest, at StacyAC on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to check out that life story, it's hdfmagazine.com.